There we go. Okay, Jacob. This is a real quick question. I think it's pretty simple. When that polling comes back, say it was for the bill, and someone was crazy enough to bring it back up, would you sign it then?
No, because it'll still be the exact same bill. I say that we send that poll to Austin. This is a...
Brief follow-up.
I'm not... Well, I'm not
He's not done answering the question right now.
So, this will still be a taxpayer and resident issue. We can send that poll to them, like I said, and show them the numbers. But this is not a student senate issue, and I will stand by that. And I'll stand by that.
Madam Speaker, brief follow-up. So you've just told all of us here and the entire student body of Texas A&M University that you don't believe their student opinion should be represented in a bill. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. I never once said that. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room would agree with me. Except for myself. I simply said we will take that poll and send it to them. Tell me what's wrong with, I'm not hiding anything. We're going to send it right to their desk if you want. I'm not taking student opinion and say, shove it, I'm done with it. I'm not saying, you know what, you don't know what you're talking about. I just said we'll send it to them. So, no, I'm not saying I don't listen to student opinion, but we're going to send it to them. But I still believe that this is not right with this bill. So, no.
Say your point.
For information, what is the mission of the External Affairs Committee?
I would refer that to Chair Caperton.
The mission of the External Affairs Committee is to represent the student body on external matters with the local, state, and federal governments, to determine what matters are important to students, and to represent them to the best of our ability through student senate with student government system.
With that, Senator Landis. With that, Chair Caperton.
I'm sorry. My question? I'm sorry. I didn't. I was just going to ask. If a poll comes back, however it ends up the result, how do you best contend that we send that to members of the 82nd session? Through what means do you think is best? Through a bill? Through what do you think is best with the student body?
Mail it to them?
You
could explain it. I mean, I think that's part of, I've never received an SLS survey, but I think when they get it back, they explain it, they go through the process and tell you what it means and things like that. I think we can do that with them. And let them know what the questions were, what people thought of, things like that. And I want to apologize to you for saying I left EA off of when I said LR, lobbies on behalf of certain student issues. I apologize.
With that, about a minute left in question and answer. Senator Kumpling.
Senator Kumpling, off campus. SLS survey done for every bill. What's the point of having a student senate?
I didn't say SLS survey. I never said you got to get an SLS survey for every student bill. I said that whatever means you see fit to get polling, true polling done. So no, I didn't say SLS survey. We got some pretty creative brains in here. I'm pretty sure we could come up with something that could get polling done. And I don't want us to stop just because we don't think we can or something like that. I didn't say SLS.
Well, question and answer has now expired.
One point of information,
Senator Wilson.
And you might refer this to someone who's big in statistics. At this university, what polling methods could constitute true scientific polling?
Senator Harris.
Only the SLS survey.
I can't say.
No, that's a point of information. With that, question and answer has expired. We will now move into a period of debate on this bill. Per our bylaws.
Beat the hell out of the rest.
Wait, sorry. You're right. This was a special presentation. We are now moving to consider this bill, so we will have a presentation from the bill authors for our bylaws. And in our bylaws, it says only a bill author can present legislation.
Point of information.
State your point. That was a special presentation.
I understand it was a special presentation, but the last time a bill got vetoed, there wasn't a special new thing now, whatever.
The chair was made aware that we are not following the bylaws at that time, and in light of recent events, we are doing everything per the bylaws as they are written. With that, you have 10 minutes for your presentation. I know this was hard for you guys, please stay in order.
Howdy, Ags.
Howdy.
I guess we should have called for a recess before this. Anyways, I want to start addressing a few things our student body president said. I gave Mr. President, Mr. Jacob Robinson, out I gave them a chance to say the executive branch works alongside students, the executive branch polls students, the executive branch goes out and seeks student opinion. He can't take it. He wants us to go out and get surveys. He could get a survey done too. He has a big executive branch that is perfectly capable of sending out a student life studies survey if he really wanted to. The fact is that he doesn't really care about working alongside the students. Or I wouldn't take my hat when I give it to him.
Out of order, Senator Warren.
So on the survey issue, the bill after this is a student fee survey bill where we make recommendations about what the fee should be. Well, an interesting aspect of that bill is that we actually did do surveys. We did an online survey and a lot of people took it. Interestingly enough, over 3/4 of the students that took it were opposed to the rec center fee increase. They're opposed to it. Now guess what the bill that the committee came up with says that we're about to pass? It says we have no opinion on this matter, even though over 75% of students did not agree with the fee increase. So do surveys really matter to certain people in the SGA? And the answer is quite frankly no. Because if they did, they would have put in that bill that the student body is opposed to the fee increase. But they couldn't, because they'd rather work along with the administration. It's just unbelievable. Now, how about y'all's email inboxes? How are those today? Pretty full, pretty impressive. A lot of emails for our bill. And one thing I noticed, something very interesting, very impressive, was that each email was unique. It was different from the next one that came in my inbox. Some of them were short, 1 or 2 sentences. Some people, I think, wrote 1,000 words. And for a random student to sit there and write 1,000 words about why he's for this bill, I think it really says a lot. If you picked up the battalion today, I don't know if y'all saw the battalion, there are 2 mail calls about this issue in the battalion, both of them in support of our bill. I guess we also heard earlier that someone said they talked to the battalion editors, and the battalion editors agreed that there was overwhelming student support for this issue. Now, what does the veto, why did it happen? Well, a lot of people are concerned about special interest groups, so let special interest groups buy them out. So what does the battalion have to say about the Council for Minority Affairs? Well, I'll just read you a quote out of there. When the state legislature meets in January, the Council for Minority Student Affairs will be working with other university groups to lobby against bills that aren't supportive of the DREAM Act. Now, wow, I wonder what's going on here. People are lobbying, using all their lobbying, their activism skills, to be loud and to lobby against a bill that obviously prevents the DREAM Act. Now, I hope y'all can see through this. Apparently, not everyone could. Now, we heard from a ton of students for this bill in open forum. If you walk around a campus, ask people in classes, you're going to hear support for this bill. So I hope you'll represent the students, your fellow student, not the special interest lobbying group. A lot of it's in this group. And I guess one interesting survey would be, if this is a little out of order, but raise your hand if you're a dues-paying member of the Texas Aggie Conservatives. What? Oh, no. There's a few people. I'm going to be honest. Probably about 5 of us. Now raise your hand if you're in the Council for Minority Student Affairs. Quite a few, and I'd imagine if I did this about an hour ago when everyone was here, there'd be about 20 or 30 hands. So this is very much an organized lobbying effort.
Stay in order, everyone.
Please see through this. Anyways, I need a break. We're going to go for it.
I just want to further the point. Even though you don't like what it affects students or anything like that, it is our mission as External Affairs Committee to deal with issues that affect Texas A&M students at the state level or the national level. And that is the point of this. So to say that don't want student government absolutely does. It affects students at Texas A&M, and therefore we need to have an opinion that represents Texas A&M. You want to get a question?
No.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about American federalism, because I think that there's a little misunderstanding. We live in a republic. It's technically different than a democracy. In a republic, you're elected by, or we elect representatives to represent us. If we dislike what they do, we vote them out. It happened a couple weeks ago. That's how a republic works, because a democracy in which you ask every single person their opinion on every single issue is not practical. But it is those representatives' jobs to seek opinion, and I personally feel I did that. Additionally, as an American, I believe that the government does not grant us a right. Actually, the government takes them away generally, and that people establish their rights. And going to Texas A&M is not a right, it is a privilege, but that is not what this bill is about. It is simply about equality in residency requirements and eliminating special privileges for a group and making it equal for all people based on their residency status and whether or not they are a Texas U.S. citizen or not. So if you're going to be voting on whether or not this can go to, if this is a valid issue for us to consider at the state level, it is. Because we represent people, and we owe nothing to the government, they owe us. And they do not get to decide what isn't right, and it is very, very American to oppose a bad law with your opinion. So, that's all I have.
Anyways, I think there were some politics that came into play in this decision. All sorts of student governments have passed a bill in support of the DREAM Act. Now, I've heard no one in this body say that's the wrong thing to do. This student government shouldn't have done that. So I don't see why our bill is any different, except for people got noisy when we brought it up. Now, I want to assure you that when you vote for this bill, which I hope you will do, because when you go out on campus, you're going to be, representing your peers well. But when you vote yes, you're going to be in a great company of people that are going to be proud of you, that support you. And I bet y'all have gotten emails in the past 24 hours from people that said, I am so glad that y'all are working on this issue. I'm so glad that you voted for it. Because the truth is that people agree with us. People agree with this issue. And I really hope that you will be brave to stand up. And sure, you take some people might, say, call you some derogatory names. I've taken it all. I sat through a presentation last night for an hour where a whole panel ganged up on me and said how horrible and racist and et cetera was. But you know what? I know about those things. I know I didn't do this bill to comment on who should or should not be at this university, or who should even be in the United States. Because you know whose job that's not? It's not the university's job to decide that. But it is the university's job, our job, to decide who pays how much money. A few weeks ago we did that when we passed the set-aside bill, opposing tuition set-aside. Identical measure.
2 minutes.
Almost everyone voted for it. The student body president passed it, and we're going to the state saying the state law needs to change. The tuition policy isn't right. Now, that's not the exact same thing. I don't know how you get any more of an identical bill. It's a tuition issue, and it's about higher education. And some other things I want to clear up. The taxation issue. And of course, there's some great emails in your inbox from students where I pulled a lot of these points because they're really good. But the point of subsidizing education isn't because people paid into the system. Because they might have paid in a little bit, but if you look at the data, they didn't cover it. But the real point is to advance the future of the economy. The future workforce, have a very educated workforce. And the sad truth of it is, people who don't have legal residency can't work in the state or in the country after they graduate. The other thing is making everything fair for international students, because that's what the university classifies these students as, are international students. And how is it fair to say, you know, the international students from the 15 countries where there's currently undocumented
1 minute.
students, that they're paying out of state because they decided to not come to Texas illegally. You know, they could have came in, broke the law, stayed here for 3 years, got the rate, but they decided no. No, just like Justice is doing. He came from Africa, and he's finding the money to get this education because it's worth it. And I think, you know, we need to look at it. If you go to school, is paying that amount of money worth a good education?
30 seconds.
I think it is. And merit admissions, they'll still get paid state tuition. So, Sean, do y'all have any closing words? I really
Everyone please stay in order. Senator Womack. You have 10 more seconds.
I urge you to vote for this bill, override the veto, stand with your fellow student, stand with your fellow Texan,
Please finish your sentence.
and stand with your fellow American.
Madam Speaker,
God bless.
I have a motion. I move that we suspend the rules bypass Q&A and go straight on into debate and hash this out.
There's a second. That motion requires 2/3 to pass. All those in, it requires 2/3. Suspend the rules of that. There's that many seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
And independent chair, the ayes who have it, we will move into debate on this legislation. Those wishing to debate for.
For the feet.
This is, okay, to clarify, Senator, or EDO, Syria, can you bring it up? 8-4. We are now back on the bill. So 8-4 supports the bill, against the veto, and an against supports the veto. It does not support the bill. Any more further? Okay, Senator Lang.
Sorry, y'all, my printer was broken, so I had no choice but to do this. Alright, howdy.
Howdy.
I've got a little story for you, Ag. How many of you have heard of the country Yugoslavia? How many of you are aware that this country no longer exists? Okay. In 1991, Yugoslavia went into a period of turmoil and war. Genocide was waged from different factions within this country. There were killings on a daily basis, and a UN peacekeeping force was sent into the region. My friend and our fellow Ag was just a young child in Yugoslavia at this time. She had to abandon her home, her family, and everything she knew to depart for Germany to escape the violence. She later left Germany for that city on the hill, America. She did all of this legally. Even with her own life was in danger, she still proceeded to leave the country legally. She applied to Texas A&M and she joined the Corps of Cadets in order to escape the out-of-state tuition price, despite having entered the country legally. How can it be that someone came here legally and running for their lives must pay out-of-state tuition when someone who has broken laws gets rewarded? In this city on a hill that has attracted many people from all over the world, how can a place that rewards criminals and punishes those who follow the rules? I don't get it. An illegal immigrant
1 minute.
disregards all of those who are waiting to enter this country legally. I remind you that an Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. If you support this bill, you are encouraging and tolerating those who are lying, cheating, and stealing. So, I lost my place. You know, I'm American, I am fortunate, okay, to be in this country. And I go to this great school. How many?
30 seconds.
Okay. And I support giving everybody an equal chance to come to America, but I am a law-abiding citizen. I support the rule of law, okay? I am proud that my friend went about this way legally, and she is now a citizen of the United States of America, the greatest country that ever has been and ever will be in existence. So with that, do not tolerate those who break the law, lie, cheat, and steal. God bless America, and dig 'em Aggies.
With that, to debate against Senator Womack.
Howdy. Howdy. Okay. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have made up mind, but I have 3 things I need to tell you that hopefully you will vote to keep this veto. The first is student opinion. We've heard a lot about student opinion. We've heard a lot about who thinks what. We've heard a lot about it. You just go out there and ask some people. They'll tell you they support this bill. Okay, that's neat. I've got 400 signatures right here that was just given to me that oppose this bill. We've got 3 protests, which I've never seen ever before. I've never seen one protest for anything Student Senate has ever done. I've seen hundreds of people come to Student Senate meetings to say, hey, now you can't do that. I've received the vast majority of debates, just like all of you have, opposing this bill. Jacob Robinson, the same thing. What do you want in terms of student opinion before it's going to make you believe that students oppose this bill? We've had people, you can't just think, I believe my constituents would believe this. Until we have numbers, we have to support the numbers that we have. And that's on the side of opposing this bill. You cannot say that the numbers work for your favor right now in the current situation. Maybe they do. If you'd have done that SLS survey like you promised, then maybe we could talk. But that simply is not the case. So as far as student opinion goes, please don't turn away the people that have come to Student Senate over and over and over again to say that they don't support this bill. The second thing, we have to take into a lot of consideration what's been going on. We've heard a lot of talk about illegal immigration. We've heard people talk about hospitals. We've heard people talk about the Texas State Comptroller's Office. I cannot tell you how irrelevant that is to what we're actually discussing here tonight. We are here. We are not the representatives of the United States government. We are not the representatives of the Texas government. What that means, think about who your constituents are. Are your constituents the taxpayers, the state of Texas, the United States of America? They are Aggies. You are loyal to Aggies only. This bill will not help Aggies. Your tuition will not decrease if this bill is passed. The most important thing that was said tonight is you go check the Bonfire Memorial for their immigration status. You won't find it. Third, most importantly, we have to realize that if this was really not about taxes, why is the bill not, hey, let's give all out-of-state students, in-state tuition. Oh wait, we can because they don't pay taxes. This is a tax issue. Let us not penalize a single Aggie. Let us not waste one more moment tearing ourselves apart over this issue. Let's just let it go, create an open environment for everyone, and for God's sakes, do something that's going to help somebody at some point.
Debate for Senator Wilson.
Hi.
Howdy.
Senator Wilson, College of Science. Okay, we're going to go through this kind of fast. I have a lot of points I want to make. First of all, there's a reason that this is an issue that is important for the Student Senate to consider. The reason that it's important for the Student Senate to consider is because it's important for students and they want us to. I have never had so many students talk to me about Student Senate in my life, and I haven't solicited any of it. I went to, the Friday after we passed the bill, I walked into a party with a few friends of mine, some of whom were in this room, and I had people walk up and pat me on the back and shake my hand because they were watching online. And they said, thank you. Now, I mean, my position on it was irrelevant, but the point is, people are paying attention. And I know at least in the College of Science, Jordan and I have talked about it, just about everybody we talk to or has emailed us, or, I was talking to people outside my microbiology lab this morning, but this is important to them, it matters to them, and it makes sense to them that we're considering this because they, as students, feel slighted. Now, I gotta say, Senator Harris and I, statistics is what we do. I do research in statistics with a professor, she's an APMS stat major, this is what we do, and this whole, I can't tell you how much I hate public opinion polls and surveys, because you can just about make them say whatever you darn well please. And so what does that leave for us as representatives? And it took me about 2.5 years in Senate before I finally hashed this out with myself. My responsibility is not to follow the majority. My responsibility is to leave my mind open to rational discussions and debates from constituents of mine. That's my responsibility. And I gotta tell you, the emails that I have gotten against this bill claim that we're racist, claim that we're intolerant, claim that basically tell me what a terrible university we go to. And I'm sorry, to me that's not a logical argument. And I did my speech last time about Hispanic integration at A&M for the last, I don't know, over 100 years. I can't abide that as a logical argument, but I got to tell you, the emails that I've gotten in support of this bill are some of the most well thought out emails and opinions I've ever gotten on anything the Student Senate has considered, and it's obviously important to them. It obviously is, and as Jacob Robinson said, that's what we're considering here tonight. Is this something we should be considering? We know what our opinion is already.
Howdy, Senate. Okay. Let me preface everything that I'm about to say, saying I voted for this bill. Lately, I've been asked to check my own personal values and morals, and so I've done that. And I think back to our May meeting, whenever this bill first came up, and I was told, as the rest of the body was told, we were looked dead in the eye, said there will be a student life survey done on this bill before you have to vote on it again. And it wasn't done. And why wasn't it done? Because there's an individual who will remain nameless, who went and pulled out this bill in the External Affairs Committee without all of the bill authors being there. And that's where that's how we find ourselves here today. And not all the bill authors were in support of this because they weren't there to say that they were. Another thing that I want to bring to your attention. Okay, so Senator Pulliam said you know, Jacob, how many emails did you get that were under the same format, yada, 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 yada. Okay, there are 1,000 individuals on this list. They were the ones whose names were attached to those emails. Okay? This, let me just read it to you. It says, justinpulliam@gmail.com has requested to automatically forward all mail to your email address. So the individual that compiled this survey here, or this mail list, Justin decided that he didn't want to hear from these people anymore. They may be saying the same thing, but he didn't want to hear about it. So he tried to forward all of his emails to the person who created it. So he gets on to Jacob about it, but then what does that say about Senator Pulliam? Does he not care about what these people have to say? A lot of them are constituents of his, but he doesn't want to hear about them anymore because he's getting too many emails, so he's forwarding them on to other people. But let's take this a step further. What else does that mean? It means that Senator Pulliam is sending all of his mail. So private information that could be about the student senate or things that are happening in it, go ahead and send those on. So, okay, that's kind of exciting, but I'm going on a rabbit trail, and I apologize. But I think y'all need to realize exactly what happened, because I was just given this a few moments ago. But I think until a student life survey is done, I think that we should uphold this veto, and if anybody wants to bring this bill back, I encourage you to. I'd love to see it again, and I'd love to see it with a little bit different language. But go ahead and bring it up again. But right now, uphold this veto because the process by which we were promising needs to be fulfilled. Thanks,
Move to previous question. There's a motion on the floor to move to previous question and vote on this legislation. It requires a majority or 2/3 vote. Share 2/3. With that, multiple seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Division's been called. All those for moving to previous question, please stand. All those opposed, please stand. Motion fails. It requires 2/3. With that, we'll continue with debate to debate 4 with 5 minutes left in debate. Chair Russo, you have 2.5 minutes.
Howdy, Chair Russo, Student Services. Now, I've heard a couple of issues that have been called with, whether we should consider this as opinion or whether we should be even spending time on this. That is not a salient argument because we could have had this issue resolved if it were not for the veto. We wouldn't have to spend any more time on this. In fact, if we approve this tonight, then there will be no more time spent on this except in implementing the bill. If it's not approved tonight, then you're going to have people going and looking for an SLS survey. They're going to bring up another bill. They're going to bring up, it's probably going to be voted on and maybe debated for another night, and it's going to be vetoed again. So that's not a salient argument. Now, since we're all pretty clear, I think, that this is an issue that is important to students on both sides, it's important to examine the arguments and the substance of the issue at hand. Now, what I think is the understanding of the people who are against this bill is that this is a social justice issue. But if anyone is familiar with the writings of the economist Dr. Thomas Sowell, and I highly recommend his writings, this is not a social justice issue. Social justice involves what is possible and making society fair by establishing a set of rules by which all people have to abide by and none are held above. Now, this, on the other hand, is an issue of cosmic justice. Cosmic justice is when a person tries to go forth and correct innate unfairness in the cosmos and in the universe that no person has any purview over and no person can affect. Now, a person who is born in the Sahara Desert does not have the same opportunities to pursue a career in professional fishing as a person born in Yokohama. However, it is not the responsibility of the entire world to spend infinite resources to make sure that that person has every opportunity and every right to go and pursue that. Because it is in the interest of countries and of societies to spend resources in a wise fashion that most benefit them. Now, none of these people had any purview before they turned 18 of whether to be in this country illegally. But that's not happening because federal crimes don't apply to people who are under the age of 18. We're talking about people who are adults, who are held responsible for their actions in every legal sense of the word, who choose knowingly to remain in a state of breaking the law, and that is what we are trying to combat here with this bill. Thanks and gig.
With that, to debate against, Senator Smith, we have 2.5 minutes, and then that will be the closed debate unless there's a motion.
Madam Speaker, I move to extend the debate by 7.5 minutes, in addition to what we already have.
There's a motion on the floor to extend debate by an additional 7.5 minutes. That requires a 2/3 majority vote. All those for adding 7.5 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, the nays who have it, you have 2.5 minutes, Senator.
Hi, Bruce Smith, Congressman Lawrence. I can personally say for myself that I was not elected to this position to negatively impact any Aggies who put me here. And I think it is disgraceful that 307 Aggies will be negatively affected by this bill. It's not, to me, it's not even relevant to this university. As Jacob pointed out in his presentation, the money that we will get back from increasing the tuition to in-state tuition for these legal immigrants will not even make a dent in the overwhelming budget cuts that we have sustained over this past year. And I would personally say this too. All 300 somewhat of these Aggies that we're talking about as legal immigrants, they took the same application process to get to this university as we did, and they have just as much right to be here and to be under the in-state tuition that they earned through their own merits. And I find it that if we cannot act as Aggies, that we stand by our honor, that we do not lie, cheat, or steal. We are stealing the opportunity that they earned in their application process in order to come here because of what they have done in high school and through their own leadership efforts. And at that, I yield the floor.
Madam Speaker, point of information, does this bill affect who's admitted to the university?
No, it does not. Senator Brown, to what point you raised?
So what? So he
debate has
moved
now
to it.
ended. Say your point.
That's standard procedure.
A ballot vote is the original vote. If no other motions are made, a ballot vote is what will happen. So with that, we'll now Senator Roscoe.
Speaker, I move for the previous question.
Debate was already closed. We are meeting with
He used 2.5 minutes?
Yes. Well, oh, that's true. You did. Thank you. We actually do. Thanks, Senator Roscoe. We actually have 1.5 minutes then to debate for Senator McDonald.
So my motion to end debate and move to previous question?
There's a motion on the floor to move to debate, or to end previous question and move to voting on this bill.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, wouldn't the speaker be recognized first because you're debating?
It's not his turn anyway.
You recognized prior to being recognized?
Double checking, but I think Senator Grosskobauer raised his placard first, but I will refer to Chair Thornburg. Senator Grosskobauer? Okay, then there's a motion on the floor to move to previous question and vote on this. Are there any seconds? Multiple seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Divisions.
Division's been called. This requires 2/3. All those who are moving to previous question and voting on this legislation, please stand.
One more.
Stay in order. All those opposed can stand.
What?
In the motion, or in the eyes of the chair, this motion clearly passes. We will move to previous question and vote on this legislation. With that, we will take a ballot vote.
Ballot.
Who needs ballot? State your point.
Please clarify again what your vote, how the vote's for and against this bill.
To uphold the veto, vote against this bill. To override the veto, supporting SB 63, voting for this bill. Any further questions? See none, please fill out your ballots. And actually, when you are done with your ballots, if you could please come up and put them in a pile right here. Do not hand it to anyone. Come up and put it in the pile.
I will take back the break.
The chair would smile upon a motion for a 5-minute recess. So moved. So moved. Any seconds? Multiple seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Please say nay. Mandatory guys, you have it.
For the first time in Student Senate history, we've reached 100 viewers. What? 100 at the same time.
Are y'all aware that that it's not working, the link?
It's not?
My mom's been trying to get off like an hour.
There's so many people.
That's what I told her. That's what's going on? Okay.
We've got 96 people.
Quorum call, everyone, please sit down in your seats. The chair
Wasted a lot of
make the
time.
body aware of the following vote on SB 6311, the in-state tuition bill. Everyone, please take order. Senator Webb. There was 35 for, 25 against with no abstentions, so it fails. That's not, it's 2/3.
What does 70%? 35, 25?
You said 25. 25 times 2 is 50.
34, 25.
The veto is upheld?
Yes.
Yes, 34 for, 25 against. The veto is upheld. Sorry. With that, Senator Maloney had a motion, or, whoa. Senator Davenport, you had a motion.
Madam Speaker,
Everyone, please stay in order.
personal taxation that I move for the impeachment of Speaker Pro Tem Scott Bowen.
There is a motion on the floor to impeach Speaker Pro Tem Scott Bowen. Please, everyone, stay in order. This motion requires a 1/5 second. So all those who would second that motion,
Point of order.
state your point.
But what would happen if we got a if somebody got a 1/5, whatever, second?
Thank you for clarifying. That means we would move into an impeachment trial. One side would get 20 minutes to present their case. The defendant would get 20 minutes to present their case. Oh, is it 10? Chair's order, 10 and 10? So 10 minutes and 10 minutes. That's out of order. And rules and regulations chair would chair that impeachment. If they neglect to, then the Speaker of the Senate would chair that impeachment trial. State your point, please stand. It has to be seconded in order to do the impeachment trial.
Point of information.
The second is not debatable.
Point of information. Can we get some background on why this is happening?
You have to get there to have that background. Wait, is that not true, Chair Russo? I will refer to Chair Thornburg. What can he say? Can he just move, or can he give a short explanation of that motion? Everyone stay in order. Okay. So with that, there is a motion on the floor to impeach Speaker Pro Tem Scott Bowen. Is there a 1/5 second? Raise your. Are there any other personal points? Say your point.
Why are we being photographed by just employee right now?
This is a public meeting.
It's a public meeting until this is seconded. If this second goes through, we would move into executive session, and everyone who is not a student senator or an advisor for student government would have to leave the room. Any other clarifications? Any other questions? Senator Ariza.
If it goes through, I'm going to need about 30 seconds so that I can disconnect from the recording thing,
Okay.
so it's not broadcasting live anymore.
Okay. In the presentations of meeting North Carolina. With that, is there a 1/5 second for this procedure? You can't second the motion, sorry. The chair would say that that is more than 1/5. We will now move into an impeachment procedure. Senator Davenport.
I want to make an allowance for our advisors to stay in the impeachment.
Point of something.
State your point, everyone, please stay in order.
I don't really know what point this goes under, but why?
No, wait, no, Senator Harris.
Are the 7 senators, non-senators allowed to be in the room or no?
No, they are not. Anyone who is not a currently sitting student senator or an SGA advisor must leave. I'm sorry.
Point of question or something.
State your point, everyone, please leave quietly.
You gotta leave.
Do what?
You gotta leave.
Senator,
I'll just chill outside.
Okay, wait, everyone. There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor to allow executive council of student government to stay in for the proceedings. Is there a second?
I don't know.
There is a second. All